Welcome to Patty's Aquatics. So in today's video, what I want to do is talk about pest snails. Now I'm talking about the ram's horn snails, the bladder snails, pond snails, Malaysian trumpet snails, the usual lineup of snails that people consider to be pests. Now I feel that there are so many things within this hobby that are just misunderstood. I've seen people completely rip down aquarium setups because they've seen a few snails in them. I've seen people put loads of medicine and poisons within their aquariums just to try to kill them. But are they really pests? Or are they an important cog in that wheel of this natural ecosystem that we keep in our aquariums? Stick around and hear me out. So, pest snails. Really, in my opinion, they get a bad rap, and let me explain. The biggest misconceptions of these guys is one, they're eating all my live plants. Well, that is not true. What they do eat are dying plants, melting plants, and unhealthy parts of plants. So they basically are getting rid of some of the bad parts of the plants for you. They do not eat live plants. So that is one big, major misconception. But what is the other one? And that is that they will reproduce so much, they will be everywhere, and will put a major strain on my bioload of my aquarium. Well, that's not entirely untrue, but hear me out. I'll go back to the way it was explained to me when I watched a video some years ago by Corey from Aquarium Co-op. Basically, think of it as this. If you have a few snails in a tank and you're overfeeding that tank, or you have an abundance of organic material in that aquarium, those snails are naturally going to be like, ooh, there's so much food in here. We need to reproduce and make more babies to help us eat it. Now, as you get things under control, or that organic material has been broken down and you slow down on what you feed and that food source isn't there for them anymore, then they kind of tell each other, well, hey, maybe we should back off breeding because there's not enough food here to feed all of us. So then what happens is some of those snails will start to die off and their population will dwindle down again. Now, I know this to be true because I used to feed my aquarium. I overfed all my aquariums. I did it for a purpose. I wanted lots of snails. That's because I got this guy. He loves to eat snails. He is my snail eater, my maintenance control, population control, and it's free food. So that is why I overfed my tanks. But what I did is I cut down on those feedings. I went from feeding every day to get as many of those snails as I could, down to feeding every other day. And with a matter of months, I've seen a huge reduction in snails within all my aquariums. So it just goes to show you that that process does work, that there's enough snails now within my aquariums to be able to handle the load of excess food, organic matter, or algae that they require. It's part of nature. Now, I've had an influx of snails in population within some of my aquariums now because I added the food web and this organic matter that's within some of my aquarium substrates. So that's a food source for them now. So they have been reproducing a little bit more to help break that down. Again, it's telling them, hey, there's more food here. We need more babies. But on top of that, that's also a food source for my shrimp. So they've been reproducing a little bit as well, which I kind of like. But that's besides the point. So those are the two biggest misconceptions of really why, in my opinion, people don't like snails. But what are some of the benefits? Now, one of the biggest benefits of these snails, in my opinion, in these aquariums is like what I said earlier. They help to break down waste within your aquarium. You know, if I have this food web in here, they help break down that leaf matter. They help break down waste, fish poop, dying plant leaves, dying plants. If you have a dead fish that happens to die in your aquarium, or shrimp or other snails, they'll help break that down even smaller. So other microorganisms or bacteria within your aquariums can break it down even more. And then guess what? It becomes food for the plants. Another cog in that food web, another cog in that ecosystem that we keep. And I think that's hugely important and not something that should be considered a pest or want to be eliminated from your aquarium. because they can be controlled. They're controlled by Mother Nature. They're controlled by what you do within your aquarium. Now, another big thing is the load of them. Yes, if you have an overabundance of snails within your aquarium, yes, they will add to the bio load of that aquarium. But if you have a tank with many plants, like I do in the majority of my tanks, all that is, guess what? It's free fertilizer. It's more free food for your plants. So not only are they breaking down the waste within your aquariums to help feed your plants, but they're also adding to that bio load to give you more fertilizer to your plants. Win-win, in my opinion. So what else do snails do that are very beneficial? Well, there's the obvious. They eat algae. Now, this is a newly set up tank of about a couple months ago with my Oscar cichlid, and the plants are doing great. I have been adding snails in here to help try to keep control of that diatom algae, the brown algae that shows up on the walls and a little bit on the plants. And the issue I've been having in here is this butthead named Sparkles here likes to eat all my ram's horn snails. I don't know if he so much eats them, rather just puts them in his mouth and crushes them. So there are difficulties there with the type of fish you keep. Some fish just don't like snails or will eat them, like I showed you before with my puffer. But I have been adding Malaysian trumpet snails in here because I want them to be able to dig through the substrate, cycle the substrate, aerate it. It helps with everything. So snails are great for algae cleanup, and Malaysian trumpet snails in particular for aerating your substrates. So those are some of the reasons why I really believe snails are beneficial for your aquarium. But there is one major disadvantage to them which I don't like. And that would be if you're trying to breed egg scattering fish like my rainbow shiners here. What they do is they'll breed and they scatter their eggs within the aquarium. And with the abundance of snails I have in this aquarium, the odds of them making it are very slim. Those snails will eat any of those eggs they find on the bottom of the substrate here. Now, I put a rock pile on here. One, because, well, the rainbow shiners like to breed over them. But two, maybe it'll give them a shot for a couple to survive. If they can fall down in the cracks and crevices of those rocks, maybe a snail can't get down there and get them. But it's the same to be said with my white cloud minnows in the tank below. There's so many snails in there as well. Anything that would hit the substrate are probably going to be consumed by the snail. So that is a major disadvantage of trying to breed these guys with snails in the tank. But the benefits of snails greatly, in my opinion, outweigh the disadvantage. And I can always set up a standalone tank just to try to breed some of these guys in as well and make sure there's no snails in it. Which, FYI, future video, I plan on doing that with something. So that's that. Well, those are the reasons why I truly believe pest snails are the farthest thing from pests. I truly believe they are hugely beneficial for our ecosystems within our aquariums. So do me a favor, drop a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are on snails. Do you think they're pests? Do you think they're beneficial? I would love to know what you guys think. Then also, if you're someone that thinks they're pests or you don't like them, I really hope that this video maybe made you think a little differently. Made you think maybe they are beneficial for my aquarium. But if not, we all go down our own paths, but that's just my opinion. It's something a video I've wanted to make for a while to really explain really how important I think snails really are to our aquarium. So that being said, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It'd be greatly appreciated. Hit that join button for membership if you're interested. And then always remember to think outside the box and take a step back into nature. I hope to see you next time here at Patty's Aquatics.